get on here, but I have something I needed to share this morning, and it's a little serious. We have a death in the family.
We do.
We unfortunately have a death in the family, and I just need to play a little something for you guys.
Mm.
Green Sheets, you were good. We appreciated all that you did for us as a company. You helped us get paid. You helped us move mountains. You helped us win awards. But no more. No more Green Sheets. Thank you.
Love-hate relationship.
No longer in need of your services. And we'll move on.
Oh, it for me.
So, goodbye, Green Sheets. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Thank you.
Can I have one question for you?
Yes, Ms. Whetstone.
As I'm transferring over into Docusign, right? I still have dot loop. I did some researching and training. All my information that's in dot loop, I will be able to transfer over to Docusign.
So that's a loaded question, Lisa. I want to make sure conceptually we understand that transferring information from dot loop to Docusign is unnecessary.
Oh.
The reason being, as we've talked about this a few times, dot loop was used as our e-signature, right, to send and receive signatures and the storage of our documents.
Yes.
That's not what Docusign is, right? Docusign is simply the sending and receiving documents. So Heather and Barb, I'm going to kind of pinball off you guys a little bit with how you might recommend to an agent who has several deals in flight. You have things that have already been initiated in dot loop, and now you're looking to, over the course of May here, get yourself transitioned. And now, guys, there's not just going to be a line in the sand where it's like, okay, I'm doing dot loop up to here and then all Docusign. You're allowed to sunset out of dot loop and kind of sunrise into Docusign. I totally understand it. That's why we're giving you all of May to kind of run both. If you have immediate stuff that's, oh my God, I can't figure out the Docusign thing right now, but I have an offer that needs to go in or I have a contract I need to send, you still have dot loop for the rest of the month.
Okay,
but
good.
If you are going to start a new transaction, basically today forward, I'd recommend doing it in Docusign.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's talk about this, for example, as we get started here, and then we'll kind of jump into it. For the person that has, let's say, you've listed a property, it's currently on the market, and it has not closed yet. You've done everything up to this point in dot loop exclusively, meaning you have not even created the opportunity yet in Command. Right, so let's just take this example. So you might have an assigned listing agreement, your CIS, your dual agency, your affiliated, your lead-based paint, your wire fraud, whatever, right? You have all those things right now sitting in a loop, okay? Now you're gonna be ready to come on and start an opportunity in Command, right? Because we know that's how we do them before, that's where our documents are gonna be stored, that's where we submit our offers, and that's where we do our commissions tab. And that was the class that we did on Tuesday. You can see that on the YouTube channel. But I wanna know, okay, if today I'm just gonna say, I'm not going to send any more documents on this particular deal in dot loop, and I'm going to do it in Docusign. What should I do? I would very specifically go into Command, create the opportunity with your client's information and everything, assuming they're contacting Command, etc. Okay. Then when you go to the Documents tab and you're going to start a transaction, I would link it to Docusign. Obviously, that's what we're going to show you today. Now, as the rest of your deal goes, whether you have addendums that need to be signed, whether you have other documents that need to be signed and things like that, as you ramp up from being under contract here, you're going to start getting offers, contracts, and everything to go to closing. You can start to do all of that within Docusign with the templates that are already filled out there for your deal. Now, what happens with those other documents, though, that are still sitting in dot loop? I would, just for these specific transition cases, I personally, and this is where I'll open it up to Barb and Heather to see what you guys might want to do too. For those couple documents, you might have 5, 10, maybe even 15 documents at this point. I would just simply download them to my computer and I would upload them directly into the Command opportunity one file at a time. Or you can kind of attach multiple files.
Exactly.
Like that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right.
Okay, good. Now, I've had some people that have had little things here and there with Docusign. Guys, we all, the whole world went into quarantine, right? we're one industry. Every single industry all of a sudden had to seriously ramp up their electronic signature platforms. I know DocuSign was kind of unprepared for the amount of people that were hopping onto their system. So we have seen little specific spot cases where some people have had a slowdown, just things aren't loading immediately, different things like that. I'll just tell you this. Be patient with all of your platforms that you go on, whether it's Zoom, whether it's DocuSign, whether it's Facebook, whatever. They're all kind of playing a little bit of catch up. So it's not a Keller Williams thing. It's not a command thing. It's just a volume of people using DocuSign. So I've seen a few of those specific cases. All right. Now, what I want to jump into today. So the other day we showed you kind of conceptually, right? Where you're going to be starting your opportunities, how you're going to be submitting offers, how you're going to be doing the commissions tab, and how to get paid. Today is more about going on to the DocuSign front of things. Now, I've held very similar kind of DocuSign style link your opportunity classes again, but we're going to do it again because you know what? I need to make sure that all of you guys feel very comfortable with this so I don't interrupt any business. I want you to be able to move just as fast, if not faster than you were doing on Dotloop. And that's going to take a little bit of just this muscle memory, this repetition, going through the motion of setting up the opportunity, linking the DocuSign account, getting the documents, understanding the terminology, how to send, receive, and bring them all back. So that's what I want to hit on today. Barb or Heather, is there anything before we get started on this from a back-end compliance, checking documents, things like that? Is there any big asterisks that for you guys is like paramount that agents should know as we kind of move away from Dotloop into DocuSign?
You have anything, Heather?
No, it's really just the tips and tricks to make it simple. Like it may look like a couple extra steps to you, but it's steps that you should have been taking all along. We're just now holding you guys accountable to it. And that's the part that's hard. It's always been the same process. It's always been the same things that we asked for. It just looks a little different and it's a lot easier to see you're good, you're not good now. And we're following up on it. So just.
Okay, I would like to add, just to reiterate that Keller Williams is a paperless company, and Keller Williams has now provided us with Command, which is, it's above phenomenal what we can do with it, and we haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg of the things that we should be doing in Command. So to be a paperless company in Command, you're going to have your contacts. That's a whole different area. Then you create your opportunity, and within your opportunity you have a details section, you have a documents section, you have offers section, you have commission section, you have notes, and you have timeline. And there's the one after details. I don't know, I haven't played with that one yet. But anyhow, in documents, when you go into the documents tab of your Command opportunity, you have to keep in mind that this page is simply, it's your filing cabinet, your file folder of stuff here. So the documents you see on the right hand side that are listed, for example, offer to purchase, it tells you it's required. The lender pre-qual or proof of funds, either one or the other is going to be conditionally required. These are simply placeholders for you to upload documents that are going to be looked at from the compliance end of things for the office. So if you take a listing, it's really about setting up proper habits. Take your listing, put it into Bright. As soon as it's in Bright, turn around and put it into here in Command, and then click on submit for review for compliance to then get notified. You have an opportunity ready to be looked at. So what I'm seeing is you're waiting until later down the road when you're under contract to be getting your listing documents, or even settled to be putting your listing documents. Please don't wait. Put a listing in Bright, put the listing into Command for compliance review. Then underneath custom folders where it says add a new custom folder, utilize this section as your file. So for example, for those of you who are familiar with Dotloop, in Dotloop, when you took a listing, created a listing for sale loop. And in that loop, you had different folders, your listing documents, offer to purchase documents, contract documents, title documents, inspection documents, mortgage documents, closing documents. I had set up all those folders for you for filing purposes. And for you, like, so that you would, and it was based on the chronology of a transaction from start to end. So utilize custom folders here. You can add in additional inspection documents, additional offer documents, and anything extra that you get at that you have somebody use at a listing appointment. Like say you have the seller gives you a prior copy of the prior deed or the current deed. If instead of keeping paper folders somewhere, you can put all that here in command on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side are documents that do not necessarily, they're not required to be compliant in order to get you paid, but this is your file folder for this one particular transaction.
Okay.
Did I talk too much about that?
No, Barb, I think that's good. I mean, that's what I want, you know, again, I can show you guys all day long till the cows come home, where to click, how to upload, whatever. We can teach the actual click strokes. In concept, though, we need to know, why am I using this? What purpose does it solve? And so, Barb, I think that was kind of, I like the way you laid that out. This is now your filing cabinet, right? Like she said, you have your requireds, you have your conditionally requireds. But guys, if we were to create a line item for every single possible document that you could possibly have or need or want in a transaction, this would say 0 of 999, and it would just be too cumbersome. So what we've done is we've split it. We said over here on the right, like she said, required and conditionally required to your deal. Over here in the add new custom folders or add new folders, that's where you can put everything else. Everything else.
Like
right?
if you have a chain of email back and forth between you and the co-op or something, or you and the lender, or you and title, or a combination of people, you can actually your email chain to a PDF document and put it on the left hand side as in one of your custom folders, and just, you know, call it email regarding this subject. So you can even put all your emails into here, so that everything about this transaction, you basically have covered your butt, CYA, you covered yourself. Everything for the transaction is here. This is the file.
All right. So so with that, let's now jump into this. So guys, this is a test listing that I created very simply. We all should know at this point how to go to opportunities, right? We go in here, we go to create our opportunity, right? We fill out all the pertinent information for our deal, and then that's what gets us started. And then I'm just going to click right here, and then, you know, you put it into whichever phase you're going to be in, and then the stages within, right? So this is an opportunity. And again, I'm just going to, you know, move this around for the example's sake, and I'm just going to come into the opportunity just by clicking on the title. So like Barb said, I'm inside the opportunity, right? And I'm going to go over this briefly because we've done this one before, but you have your details tab. This seller profile, guys, I think a lot of people kind of gloss over. This seller profile is when you send them, remember on our Keller Williams app, yes, it's a search app and that's all well and good, but what the app is also good for is what's inside of the guide. Remember, this comes back to that whole example of, I don't need my pizza right now, I need information about my pizza. In your Keller Williams app, you can lay out the entire seller process, starting from the offer, you know, the listing, all the way through to closing. And then you can see where your seller is in that process, right? And you can kind of go to manage all that. So I'm going to gloss over that, but I just want you to know what that's referencing. That's referencing the KW app, and where your consumer can select, I have completed this step, move on to the next, so that you know where they are in their education. Documents is obviously where we're going to spend a majority of our time today. And I'm going to make sure we know how to link our transaction to Docusign, and then what we're doing once we're inside of Docusign. Once you do start receiving offers on the property, right? Offers here is where you need to submit those. This is where you're going to actually put your offers in, because this commissions tab will not be able to be selected until I have input the offer and actually accepted it as the winning bid. Then my commissions tab will open. Then I can go down and split my commission. I can do whatever I need to in terms of a referral, or if I need to make any deductions for myself, or I need to do anything. So I can, and then this is where I would actually submit it to the market center as a fully compliant deal. And then I would be able to kind of do my effective green sheet, if you want to still use the terminology. Like Barb said, there's kind of two others over here. You have the notes and the timeline. Barb, where have you been using notes for this? Do you think it's more of a team, team member to team member thing, or is this between an agent and yourself, or how do you see this being used?
Well, I started just putting some notes to remind myself of things I have to do or something. But I did a Zoom with an agent out of the Cincinnati area, and her whole business is fully implemented through Command, and she recommended that instead of doing notes here, you do them at the contact level, because now at the contact level, things you do are appearing on the right. So that's a whole different topic of conversation.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. So then finally, guys, we obviously have the timeline, and this should just be a log of, interactions and things like that. You can see all of the, what I did when I changed stuff and everything like that, just so you can kind of go back if you need to see when certain things were done. But I don't see you going into this all that often. So let's jump into the bulk of what I wanted to cover today, and that's here on the actual Documents tab. Now, when you first get in here, right, you have to remember to select. You might not see anything, right? Remember, come over to this type, and you want to make sure you select your right type. So residential, once I select this over here, then all these document spots will be filled up. I had somebody ask me a question like, oh, I started my opportunity, but it didn't show the same thing as you. So I said, did you check it off as a residential deal? I said, oh, no. And once they did, obviously this all populated, okay? So now once I'm in here, I need to start getting my stuff ready to send to a seller. I always like using the example. I just went to a listing presentation, whether I sent these documents over right before I went, just so that they were in their inbox already, or I said, okay, great, I'll come home and I'll get all of these kind of terms and things we had spoken about. I'll get them prepped, and then I'll send you the documents for electronic signature, whatever case or iteration of that you want. Now, since I have already linked this specific opportunity to a transaction room, you can see over here on the right, I have two buttons. One says sync and one says go to transaction. When you're doing this for the first time, it will not say these. It will say in a charcoal gray, start a transaction with a little drop down arrow next to it. Make sure that if you have both .loop and Docusign connected, you click that little drop down arrow and select Docusign so that you link this opportunity.
Okay, cool.
Lisa, do you mind if I put you on a mute?
Yeah.
You. Pop in if you need a question.
Okay.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Please.
On your residential tab, when you click down and you have a choice of residential REO, why
Yes.
would they not have commercial in there?
I can answer that, Mike. It just hasn't been created yet.
Okay, and there's a lot of those issues along the way. So these will be created as I need them. So if I want to put a commercial listing in, and there's 7 people in this office that do it, Command doesn't work right now. So do I call Dallas and ask him to add that, or whose responsibility is that?
No, that's something that we can do at the office level. I think Heather created the REO listing. It's just a matter of, I had requested of a commercial agent at this point to provide me with what they feel are the typical documents needed to be compliant, and I've not received it back. So if you have a list of compliant documents for a commercial transaction, we'll be more than happy to get something created. I don't do commercial, so I don't feel I'm qualified to create that at this point.
I understand that, but KW has an entire commercial division, and I don't know if I'm the one that tells KW what's compliant. I would think KW would tell me.
It's at a market center level that of what we here in New Jersey would feel would be compliant for our market center.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And I don't, my second question for Connor, and I apologize if it's a waste of time, but help me to understand, Connor. We left .loop, and that's a wonderful thing, and Command's going to be great. But where I'm confused with is we're doing all of our documents in Docusign. What if next year there's a better company out there, Docusign 2, right? I would have thought that all of our forms would be filled out in Command, so we have complete control of them. And what I've learned is we fill everything out in Docusign. So we're putting our entire businesses and all of our files on a server that we have no control over, and then obviously bringing them back. But at the end of the day, sooner or later, there's going to be a better mousetrap out there than DocuSign, just like DocuSign's better than Command, or for whatever reason for the change, DocuSign may not always be our partner. So is it possible in Command to be able to fill a document out like a listing paperwork in Command and then just send it through a document as a signing device as opposed to the device where we fill out all the paperwork?
So Mike, I'll answer that. And I think you kind of hit on two different points here, and I appreciate it. One is that when we had the reason why we switched away from .loop and we're moving to DocuSign is this. DocuSign has been basically the premier online electronic signature platform across all industries since electronic online signatures have been out. .loop was purely made as a subsidiary of Zillow Corporation so that they could have something transaction management wise, so that they could capture and record and use information about agents that were using their system. So as we move away from getting our information on somebody else's server that they can do whatever they want with, that was actually the problem that existed with .loop. So .loop was using our information and was using our clients' personal information when we put them on there. So when we cut from .loop and then we said we would like to partner with DocuSign, we made them, DocuSign, sign our data pledge so that they cannot harvest, use, scrape, do whatever with our information. So our information is very much protected in our partnership with DocuSign. Now, to your point, could a company come out next year that's going to blow DocuSign out of the water? Maybe. I'm not a soothsayer. I don't know. But what I do know is that the incumbent always wins if they can adapt. And DocuSign is absolutely the incumbent, and they're a very flexible company in terms of adapting. So if some company comes out next year that has a feature that's slightly better than what DocuSign has, they're just going to improve their product to have that feature in there. So I don't necessarily see in the next 5 to 10 years any need or any company really coming in and being a better mousetrap.
No, and I agree. But it's just interesting that we're putting everything into that other document. And along that same thought process, when you're filling out those documents, the thing I loved about .loop was I put in my buyer, my seller, the address of the property, the commission, and bam, I hit a few buttons, and all those forms were filled out instantly. It was a wonderful thing. When I've started to do things in DocuSign, there is no autofill.
There is. There is. And I'm going to show you that today. There is. Right, and that's my thing, Mike, most of the time, and it's not just you, most of the time when I hear somebody come to me with an issue, it's one of three things. One, it's a training issue. One, it's we just haven't trained that point or gotten that part across. Two, it's a feature request. It might just be something, it's a good idea, but it's not quite there yet. Or three, it's an actual glitch. And what I find is 9 times out of the 10, it's that first one. It's just more of that function actually does exist in that system, but we haven't relayed maybe that information to you agents well enough, or we need to do it in a different way so that you do actually know that that function is there. So yes, there is an autofill in DocuSign. That's going to be like
I missed it. I apologize, but I'd watched your class on YouTube because I missed it on Tuesday. And like you were having, I was having a hard time even finding those documents. But then once I found them, I guess I didn't look hard enough, but I missed the auto.
So it's all right. Yeah. And I think you're going from you're doing like A, D, J, P, and then Z. I mean, I want to make sure I fill in all those other little letters for you, all those other little steps along the process so that you know where to look for some of this stuff. So I think
Can I just jump in?
Barb, real quick, let me just finish this and then I absolutely want to jump you in. To your point, can we do something like this purely in Command? Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, we have a lot of developers that are pretty good that could build that. But what we found is that a company like DocuSign, the level of scrutiny and the level of their coding and the level of their development for a program that's able to federally be protected and internationally be able to protect it to send and receive electronic signatures and fill out documents and things like that, that is a highly, highly regulated and highly scrutinized industry. And for us as Keller Williams, we'd have to spend half of our budget for the next year creating that program. And so we decided that is absolutely not our core efficacy. And we're going to partner with a company like DocuSign and have them send a data pledge so that we can work together symbiotically. Barb, go ahead.
I just want to help avoid people feeling frustrated with converting to DocuSign for e-signatures. I just started using DocuSign myself the beginning of March, and yes, I got frustrated. I feel right now I'm still not 100% of the way there as an agent. However, I've watched all kinds of videos. Connor's 66-day challenge, Marty Miller's, DocuSign YouTube videos, the whole gamut. until you actually start using it, you're going to have that fear of the unknown, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But like Connor's recording this video, so maybe rewatching it later down the road, it's going to help you. But it's not something you're going to be comfortable with in a couple of days. It may take longer than that. So Mike, I hear where you're coming from as, you know, an experienced agent, a team leader on your team. Docusign, now, you know, I'm a huge .loop fan, but Docusign does have some things that I like way better than how they were done in .loop. So there's little tricks that I figured out along the way, and hopefully we can get to a point in today, if we have time, that we can actually talk about some of the tricks to things, and we can go from there.
And Barbara, maybe there's another time, if you could do a separate class, you know, maybe we could have you do a couple of those classes, if you don't mind.
Well, that's why, Amy, that's why I have her on here now, right? That's why I have her. So as I go through here, Barb, please feel free to jump in. If you see it,
I do.
I know, that's why I like when you're on here. Please expound. If I come to a section that you think maybe I go a little quickly, or I could have explained a little bit bigger, please jump in. And so that's a marriage of the two. And to everyone's point, guys, I'm holding these classes. I am stuck at home in this home office all day. If you want to do a one-on-one with me and straight up, start to finish with it, and you guys want to just sit and go through it with me and ask me specific questions that you don't want to belabor the group with, I'm here to take those and jump in with you. If I think I have done something that'll answer that, I'll send you that. But if you want to just, Connor, walk me, like, let's do it, just reach out to me. We'll set a time. So let's jump into this, guys. I want to just actually get into some of the meat of what we're talking about here. I think this has been great discussion so far. So now I'm in here. Let's get myself into my transaction, all right? So I'm going to hit my go to transaction button here. And this is now bringing me in here. One of the things that I think I've had a lot of people have questions on, and kind of again, it's sort of a conceptual thing. They're going to me and they're saying, Connor, I started this deal in .loop. I have documents in there. Now I'm going to command and I create an opportunity. But Connor, it's not linked. My command opportunity is not linked to my loop. And that's because you kind of did it backwards. You started the loop first and then tried to create the opportunity. For all of this stuff, don't go to Docusign, start a room, and then try and link it back. Don't go to .loop, start a loop, and try and link it back. Start with the opportunity in command and then link it to your .loop Docusigns, okay? All right, so we're here in the Docusign room, and I just need to minimize my little window up here. Okay, so here I am in the Docusign room. Now, again, I'm all about removing the clutter, laser focusing in on the stuff that actually matters. So the 3 tabs that I think are the most important for what we're looking at all right here. You have the details tab here, you have documents, and you have envelopes. Now, to Mike's point, right, we had that autofill function, which I used all the time too. I thought it was really helpful and it's a time saver. That's what this details tab here is going to be. Now, as I'm in my opportunity, the more information that I fill out here in my details tab of my opportunity, the more that will link over into the details tab that's here, right? So if you fill out the majority of this, the majority will fill out there. I'm just going to select this property because I want to show you, let's see where this pulls in. For whatever reason, we're just using our old office. I don't know why. Okay, so I'm just going to save that right here up as a property. Now, when I come over to here, I'm just going to give this a quick refresh. All right, good. All right, now what I want to do is I want to edit and input any of the information that I have so far, right? So in the top right here of our details, I have my edit, right? So I'm going to hit edit, and now everything in here I'm going to be able to do. The first thing that I personally do is I make sure the people that I have for my deal are all set in. So you can see here on the right, I'm just closing all of these to make them, you know, collapse basically, so I can show you everything that's in here. 2 seller options, 2 listing agent options, 2 buyer options, and 2 buyer agent options. Don't worry if you have a deal that has an extra seller or has an extra buyer. You can still add their signatures in there. But I think, again, 95 to 99% of deals are only going to have 2 or less sellers or 2 or less buyers. So that's why it's kind of default. But you can always add a third down the road if you need to. So for me, I'm going to make sure my seller. Now I'm going to call this guy John Smith, just so you don't get confused with the names. All right. And I have his information all filled out here the way I need it. Right. So that's going to be my seller 1. My listing agent 1, that's going to be me. Right. And I have my information put in there. Good. Now, here's the first thing, Barb, were you going to say this?
Yes, go ahead.
So guys, for whatever reason, and this is like one of the only things that I've seen that doesn't pull over properly. When it says company, it's only putting in Moorestown, but I think we all know that it's
Keller Williams Realty blank.
Yeah. You like leaving it just like that, Barb?
Yep,
Just
that's
Keller
the name.
Williams Realty.
Any document that wants us to put the name of our agency in it is going to pull from that field there.
Right there. Okay.
So just Keller Williams Realty, and I actually take off the Suite 200. I don't know if that's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll leave it in for now. Let's see where it populates. All right.
Okay.
So for me, guys, right now, again, this is just a listing agent and a seller. That's all the information I have. So that's all the information I'm going to fill out. I got my seller, John Smith, and I'll be the listing agent. Okay. Now, again, I could go through and fill out more of this information: the location of the property, year built, property type, listing date, expiration date, original listing amount. Then when I get to offers, high bid confirmation, closing details, additional information. You can fill this stuff out as you go along. But for right now, very early on, this is all I have. So I've done my edit, filled in my pertinent information, and I'm going to hit save. You saw that most of that information already pulled through. It pulled the contact that I have this opportunity associated with. It was Connor Tuck, right? Because I use myself as a test. So I just flipped his name, for example. But that already auto pulled in. So most of this information is pulling over. Now, the next tab that we're going to want to get to is this Documents tab. Okay, that's the second of the most important of all of these. Okay, so when I'm here in my Documents tab, right, now I need to go to the library or go to the group and templates and say, here's all the documents I need to gather together to then send out to my client, right? So in the top right here, I'm going to come up to the add button, right? All of our action buttons are just right here in the top right. So I'm going to go to add. Now you have options. Again, 9 times out of 10, you should be able to come right here to Docusign Forms. That's where we as an office have prepped basically every template of every document that you should need for your deal. Again, every deal is different. We might not have 100%, but we got the large majority of them, right? If you do have a document that you have that's separate, that's a random addendum or a random thing that we don't have in here, you can always just upload the blank version here right from your computer, and then you can just simply prep it. But most of them, and most of you guys are going to start here in Docusign Forms. So I'm going to click on Forms. It actually loaded pretty quick for us today. Now, I have 2 options. I have the place that I'm going to look, and then the broken down templates within each, right? So I have a library and a group, okay? Group is very similar to when we were in Dotloop, right? And Barb had made kind of the purchase, the seller, the listing, the rental, whatever, right? This group is the same as that. So you can see I have buyer documents, commissions, contract docs, lease agreements, residential listing, rental listing, tenant docs, and then a couple of the YHT docs, right? So for me, this is a listing. So I'm going to come down, residential listing documents, okay? Group listing documents, and then here's all my docs, right? So normally what I'll do is I'll just go up here, hit select all, and then I'm going to add them right in. And I'll add these documents in here. Now, before I navigate away from the screen, I just want to show you real quick. Instead of the group, if I go to the library up here, okay, now when I come in here, you can see it's broken down at 4 levels. I have the Najar documents. I have our MLS documents. I have our Board of Realtors documents. And then I have our Market Center. Just as an example, if I go to the Najar documents, there's a lot in here. Addendums, a lot of the addendums are in here. The contract is in here. Things like that, right? You can always search by keywords as well. As we go to the next level, the MLS documents, you can see there's only 4 in here, right? I just have a listing update form, waiver of broker co-op, HOA condo addendum, residential sale profile sheet. Then when I come down here to our local board level, there's only, again, a couple. So between our MLS and our board level, there's really only 7 documents in there, right? Fair housing, the residential listing agreement, sale lease, right? Residential listing. And then at the Market Center level, these were the ones that our office specifically put up, right? Our escrow deposit form, our escrow release form, right? Our KW affiliated business disclosure, right? Some of these are in here. So you can see, and all of these documents, guys, are all prepped templates. So again, the majority of what you should need is in here, prepped and ready to have auto-filled pre-tagged roles and everything, right? So again, I showed you everything that's in here. I'm going to go back to my groups. I'm going to go back to my listing documents. I'm going to select all of those documents, and then I'm going to add them into my loop. Now I see a bunch of people popping in the chat real quick. I'm just going to take a second to see if I have any questions in here. So as I scroll up, let me just take some of these guys. Are we discussing green sheets in Command 2? We should not be discussing green sheets in Command 2. I'll let you kind of reach out to Heather specifically if you have a specific case on that, Heidi. Marvin asked of Barb, if I have to put all those miscellaneous emails and docs into the compliance folder, should I take them out and start a new miss folder? Marvin, again, I think I'll let you reach directly out to Barb on that one. From Joe, Marvin, custom folders. Okay, so you were kind of answering that. Good. Marvin, you got that. Okay, Shannon and DocuSign, good. Marvin, you asked a little bit again. As a visual learner, love it. You can see what you've loaded. It's great to load everything. Next time, just load emails. Yep, love it. Lindsay, does anyone else have the ability to log in and integrate with DocuSign? What's the hard kill date for .loop? Because, yeah, Lindsay, we're still working on yours. You are literally the only person that's having that issue. We don't know why it is. We're still trying to follow up on that one. I didn't mean DocuSign. And then COVID, Marvin, you're in there. Buyer not populating. Do I have to enter everything again? No, you shouldn't have to enter everything again, Cassandra, but make sure that your details screen is properly filled out. So yeah, Lindsay, for whatever reason, your case is beyond us at the moment. That's why we're trying to keep getting that escalated. It may come down to needing a new email address. Right?
Connor,
yes.
I have everything filled out in my opportunity and my contact. And then when I go to the room where we were, nothing carries over. I have to retype the whole buyer all over again. Nothing's coming over.
All right, then let's do a 15-minute today, Cassandra, because
Okay.
I'll want to see your screen. All right, and then Yesenia, creating your own templates. I've recorded a video. It's on my YouTube channel called "Creating Your Own Custom Templates." So check that out. It's only about 12 to 15 minutes. You can see how to do that. All right. So let's keep rolling here. I got all my documents in here now. Okay. Now I might not need every one of these documents. I mean, here's the example, right? I might not need this home warranty one to send to them with this one. Maybe this is a home built after 1978, so I don't need the lead paint one. So I'm not going to grab every single document and put them in the folder. But for example, you probably would, right? I would want to send my listing agreement. I'd want to send affiliated. I'd want to send informed consent to dual, the CIS, and the wire fraud notice. Let's say I just wanted to send those documents, right? Then all I would have to do is on each document, I could just simply come up here, check off the ones that I want, okay, and then move to the next. Now, just for this example, because I want to show you what it actually looks like to send and receive these documents, I'm just going to take off the listing agreement, and I'm just going to take off, I'll leave the other 4, just because I want to show you what it looks like, and this is a clean 4 to do it with, all right? Now, once I start selecting documents, guys, once I check at least one, this little, go ahead, Heather.
Sorry.
You want to fill them out here?
Yes.
Okay, yes. That's the one that Heather reminded me about a couple classes ago, and it's still something that I have to learn. Okay. Heather's a good point. When you're ready, there's some fields that you just want to fill out right now, right? So let's say, for example, which would be a good one to come into, Heather? Really?
The listing agreement, probably.
Yeah, so let's do this.
Unselect them.
I can unselect these, but all I have to do is really select the one that I want, like this. All I did was click on it, just literally right here in the middle of it, just clicked on it. And then it gives you the option to just fill out any fields that you need to, anything that didn't pull over. So this stuff did auto pull in, right? My seller landlord pulled in, my broker agency pulled in, right? Address. So that's where that Suite 200, I guess I don't mind it there, Barb.
It's not in the way, but I don't know that, I don't have that on my address info.
Okay. All right. So then, guys, you can see as I start hovering over these, I can start filling all this in, right? Right.
And this is where you would want to fill it in. It's much harder to do later. You have to add your own text boxes and things. So this is definitely where you want to make sure all your documents look the way you need them to look.
Great.
Prior
Yes,
to
this is
initials and signatures.
This is your chance to proofread that the auto-populating happens correctly. This is where you're going to also want to make sure you understand, and this is primarily newer agents, you're going to want to know what documents you need and what documents need to be signed by who and how to fill them out and everything, because this is going to be critical for your success. I always have stressed in my training classes that you really need to know your documents. You need to know your forms. Heather's absolutely right. So if you put a document in this room folder, open it up here, make all your edits to it here. When you get to the envelope stage, if you do it all over there, you're not gonna have anything in your folder. So it's just very clean. Take it one document at a time, proofread it from top to bottom, and fill in all the blanks that are required. It's if you do it here, and then Connor too. Also, I'd like to, when you click on that circle, I'd like you to show them the bar that comes up, and also when you click on the circle and you do a right mouse click, let them know that they can rename these, they can split them apart, they can manipulate them in there. So show that while we're here too, if we have time.
So you guys see, as Barb's talking here, I'm just kind of going down and I'm just starting to fill this stuff in, right? So we could do 3% of, gross plus, 100 or whatever, whatever you do in here, right? Again, you can put whatever you want.
And this is a new listing agreement that came out last summer. You're used to what the listing agreement looks like in Dotloop. It has been updated last summer. This is everything in Docusign has the latest and greatest versions of everything.
So
it's going to look a little different. So please be careful and proofread them.
Yeah, go ahead. What was the question?
I'm sorry, just real quick, because I didn't hear when you officially clicked, when you originally clicked into the docs and you picked the group, you just go into a tab that says listing docs, and that's going to pull in the required listing docs from wherever it came from in the library.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what Barb and Heather basically set up. So guys, so let's assume, right, that I've gone down through this and I've filled everything out, right? For sake of time, I'm just not going to do the entire agreement here. Then once I'm done, I just come up, save and close, right? Oh, and this one's a number, so I'm just going to put up 0 or something like that. Save and close, okay? All right, so now it's going to bring me back into the Documents tab, and let me unselect these real quick. So watch what happens. Once I unselect this last one, this bar is going to go away, right? Now, Barb said all I did was right-click on this, and you can rename it, you can edit it, you can do a bunch of stuff from it right from here, right? By just simply coming on here, right-clicking on the document, and then you can do some of the things here, right? So with these, right, if I'm going to come on here, and again, I'm just going to do everything other than the listing agreement just because it's a little bit long. All right, so I'm going to do these 4 documents right here, okay? Now, I can copy these, move them somewhere, email them, combine them, Docusign them, which again, laser focus, show you only what really matters. This is probably the one you're going to select most of the time. I can download stuff, I can archive it or unarchive it, right? So now I'm going to say, okay, I want to send these 4 documents to that seller, right? So I brought them in from the group, I've selected the ones that I specifically want, and then
Connor?
Docusign. Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but on that last screen where you said we could email them, that I guess would be a good time to be able to email it to like a co-op agent so they could preview them.
Yes, that would be like if you're not going to have your seller sign first and you want to send a form to a buyer's agent for the buyer to sign first, then yes, you could do it that way.
I mean, or you can email it to the other agent, Barb, for their review.
You can email it to the other agent. You can fill out an escrow check request form and email it directly to Heather. You can fill out a commission statement and email it directly to a title clerk. You could do that email function for several things.
That's cool.
Hey, Barb, after everything is signed, do we have to go there to email the signed copies?
No.
Okay.
Nope, Connor's going to get to that.
So everyone is required to sign the documents. Once when we get into, let Connor get into the envelope screen and we'll point that out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of that might get answered as we get to the next section. So again, so what I did was, right, so I went to these documents, I selected those 4, and I hit that little DocuSign button. So the third tab that I want you to care about, right, details was first, documents is second, envelopes is third. Now in envelopes, you can see I have a draft envelope, and you can see down here, I have 4 documents inside of it, but I don't have anybody necessarily any people assigned to it yet, right? Because I haven't filled out the envelope. So let me come into the envelope. Now, I think it's very important up here to name your envelopes. I'm going to call this my listing documents, right? And if you want to maybe put the date on there or something, most of the time it has the date, but listing documents, right? Just so I know which ones these are, okay? You can see here are the 4 documents, right, that I set up. Over here, maybe if accidentally I forgot one document, all I have to do is come to this add document here. I can add a doc back from the room, right? Or I can come in and use a template. Like you said, I think that was you sent it. Let's say you have a custom template for something that you need to grab. This use a template, right? My templates is where you'll go to find your library of things you created, but we're not going to touch that quite yet. Okay, I'll come back to that. All right. Add recipients to the envelope. Now this is where we're going to start adding people in. So obviously for these documents, right? This is something that I want the seller to sign first, and then I want myself, the listing agent, to sign second, right? So I'm going to start coming into add recipients. Now remember, when I was back in the Docusign details tab, I filled in on the right-hand side in those collapsible roles, I filled out who those people were. If I don't do that, this pre-tagged roles is not going to show up. This pre-tagged roles is very specifically looking back at the details tab on those roles. So my pre-tagged roles are this. So look at all this, guys. You can see that I have my affiliated business arrangement disclosure, which has 2 seller signs to sign. I have the arrangement disclosures down here with 3 and 4, but we don't really quite need that. The informed consent and wire fraud are right here. Okay. So of these documents, I have a seller 1, so that role is going to be selected. I'm obviously not going to select seller 2, 3, or 4 because there's nobody to put there. For this document, the recipient, who's going to be this seller 1, is going to be John Smith, right? That was the seller 1 that we set up, right? So he's going to be my role for this one. The listing agent for the informed consent form, that's on there, and that is going to be me, the listing agent. We don't have a buyer 1 and buyer 2. So Barb, on this one, should I be selecting, because this is a wire fraud notice, is this really only for buyers, this one? Because it says it only has a buyer role.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you, so I would have, I think when you do pre-tagged roles, which I believe you kind of need to for the listing agreement, it's going to break it down by document.
Yep.
So if you do room participants, I believe it covers everyone.
Oh, okay, I see. So let me just be selected real quick.
Yeah, but then do add recipient and then do room participants. You get a different window. So seller 1 and listing agent, I would check those 2 off. And then that's who I would like, and then I would select those and they would go in squares 1, the first 2 squares. Okay. So there's different ways you can do it, but because of the listing agreement.
Yeah, I have the listing. I didn't select the listing agreement specifically for these 4.
Right, but that's when you have seller/landlord versus just a seller.
Okay.
So the pre-tagged role comes into handy that.
Okay.
I
So
get a little
yeah,
confused with that one.
yeah, that's I agree, Joe. That is a little confusing. So the room.
Try room participants the first time you play with this.
This is so right as I have it set up, Joe.
Yeah.
All I'm selecting here are room participants. When I selected room participants, right, I went in and I said that, you know, Connor Tuck will be the listing agent and John Smith will be the seller 1. So those are my
if you had a document in the room that had a seller/landlord place to sign, that would appear in that room. That would appear in the room participants.
I don't think so. I think that's when you have to do pre-tagged and pick it for the document.
I'm going to bring it in just because I want to see where this is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add in that residential listing agreement. And let me just, for example, say, take the recipients out, right? So now that we have this one in here, the reason why this listing agreement is a little tricky is because like Joe said, it's a seller/landlord role, whereas these other documents just have a seller role. They should merge, but they're technically different. So there's this little gray area in between. So if I go to add recipients,
do room participants first.
Want me to do room participants first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to select room participants. So again, it's showing me all the available roles and it's showing me only these 2. So let's all kind of work this together. Let's see what happens if I only select these. Let's see how this auto populates on the actual listing agreement, right? So again, I I would actually like this, because this is the listing agent. I would like them to sign second. So I'm going to move them to a 2 position. Okay. I want these documents to first, this is a position marker. I want them to first go to John Smith, the seller. And then once John Smith is completed, then I want them to be sent to me, the listing agent, because I obviously want to see a signed version, right? So let's
Okay,
just try
and
go ahead.
can I just point out on your, hover your mouse to the right of the square? See the little X that pops up? If you put somebody in by mistake, you can remove them by clicking on that X.
Correct.
That's just a little thing
Yep.
you need to know, because I made mistakes, Joangelo made mistakes. We fixed it that way and it worked fine.
Okay.
And you can have the ability to have, like if this was 2 sellers, you can make them both position 1, that they both can sign at the same time.
Right. And they can both have the same email address, right? That was
Yes.
something that we could not do in Dotloop, is that you absolutely had to send 2 different participants the forms to 2 very separate email addresses. Within Docusign, if you have a couple that uses the same email address, or it's easier for them to use the same email address, you can set the 2 individual roles to both be sent to that email address. And I've seen it when it's actually received, it'll send it and say, hey, Jane Doe, this is for you to sign. And then, hey, John Smith, this, it'll come as like 2 separate emails, one after another. And it'll be specifically, hey, this one's for you and this one's for you. And then they can both kind of go in and sign it. So, all right, so I'm good here. I've set my, I've brought the documents in. I've established who they're going to, and that's it. And then I labeled it. I know it took us almost 9 minutes to go through that, but guys, all I did was label the thing, bring the documents in, and set the roles, and I'm done. Most of the time, this should take you 45 seconds to 60 seconds max to fill this stuff in. So I'm gonna go to next up here in the top right, all right? Now, next isn't gonna send this. Next is gonna bring me into, this is kind of similar to what we were used to in Dotloop. And just while that's loading, let me just see what's in the chat here. So Heidi, should we rename doc with buyer name or listing address? Rename envelope, not doc. No, you don't need to rename the envelope for the buyer doc, because again, remember, this envelope is purely living within inside of this transaction room, and this transaction room is only linked to one opportunity. It's not like I have to sift through different envelopes for different buyers or different sellers. It's just this one room for this one seller and this one opportunity. So there should never be a question as to who these documents are going back and forth to. But I do think labeling them with what they are, the listing docs or the under contract docs or the proposal to purchase envelope or whatever, that I think would be the important way to label them. Okay, let's talk about this screen for a second. Okay, like Barb said, we were all used to some things in Dotloop. I'm coming here and it's a new way of looking at it, but there's actually a little bit more function. Now I'm not sure why this little Moorestown, kind of got screwed up here, but you can see a lot of these documents are kind of being filled out automatically by the things that I had already done, okay? Now in here, we have affiliated arrangement disclosure on the right-hand side. Then I can go to my next document here. I can go to my next document here, my next one over here, and then my final document is down here, right? So I can just have them all brought up. I can scroll and just do them all in a nice package like this, okay? So the one issue that I have, and Barb, this is kind of why I don't like doing room participants. Do you see that now on all of these? All of my signature fields are missing?
Right.
That's why I personally don't
Right.
like using room participants.
So I agree.
Because all these auto-filled, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I totally agree. I think pre-tagged roles, especially to start with, is going to be your best bet. You don't have to lay out all your initial fields, all your signature fields. I know when you get a little farther into it and you need to customize certain things, you may need to do room participants, but pre-tagged roles will lay out all those fields for you. That's what the templates are for.
Yeah, Heather. So this was a pretty good example of like clicking around. What would this do? So I think we can say, you know what? To fill all these documents out, I think I'd actually like to prefer to put these people as pre-tagged as opposed to room participants. So I'm going to hit go back here, and just really simple. It's going to bring me right back to this envelope screen. All I have to do is, like Barb said, when you screw up and you want to take out an envelope, a participant, I'm just going to exit, add recipients, go to my pre-tagged roles. Now you can see all the different roles that are for the documents. Seller 1 for the affiliated is John Smith. Listing agent for informed consent is the agent.
See now how it has seller landlord 1? That's
Yeah.
gonna be for your listing
So
agreement.
I'm just gonna put nothing here for buyer one. I'm gonna come here to seller landlord for the listing agreement. That's gonna be my guy John Smith. Tenant one, no, because we don't have that. And then broker agent down here, select.
I think
That's
the
gonna be
problem, the buyer one and buyer two might be,
It's for the
since
wire.
the wire, it might be, that DocuSign created the template incorrectly.
Could be. All right, let's circle back to that one. So
Hey,
now in our
Connor?
pre-tag roles, I've added these ones in. Yeah, Mike.
Joe,
Oh, Joe.
doesn't the wire fraud notice have a signature space on it for seller/landlord?
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
open it. Let's see what it shows us once we get inside of it, because I'm curious about that one too. So let me hit the add selected here. So now it created my couple roles, right? So you can see what's coming up here, right? So what it's doing right now by default is it's going to send it out to John Smith, the seller. Then it wants to send it to me simultaneously. Then once we've completed our signatures, it's then going to send the listing agreement as a separate to this separate role, and then to me. So this is a little confusing in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to switch me as the agent to position 2, and I'm going to switch this to position 1. Okay. So now I have my seller landlord one, which is the role that's found on the listing agreement. It's going to go there first. Then it's going to send the rest of the other documents to the second role. And this is why there was this little kind of gray area. I wish these would just be one role, but because seller/landlord is technically different than seller, it's 2 different roles the way that the system kind of reads it. So then listing agent and then broker agent, again, kind of the same thing, but just because they are labeled differently, it is actually making them 2 separate roles. So this wants to send it out in 1, 2, 3, 4 order. I'm okay with that. All right. And
Don't forget to show where you put your email message down there.
Okay. Yeah. So then the message to all recipients. So again, if I want to, please Docusign listing docs. Nice meeting you today. Here is what we discussed. Something like that. Okay. You could put something a little fancier in there, or you could label the documents that you want, but I don't think that would be quite necessary. So now let's go to next. Now let's see. Okay, so we've done a nice experiment here. What does room participants give me on these pre-filled template forms? What does pre-tagged roles give me? So this second time we're doing the pre-tagged roles. So now I should see, there we go. Now I should see this stuff in here, right? Okay, so I came right up here under the top left.
And if anything in there is not right, Connor, you could change it, right?
Absolutely. Everything in here is changeable. Most of them should be right, Joe, but yes, if you need to make a small asterisk here, yeah, you can. Now, do you see how I have 2 John Smiths and 2 Connor Tucks? Guys, this is only for this listing agreement. Everything else will be nice and cookie cutter in one row. I wanted to do this listing stuff because it is the only kind of asterisk one. Again, I have a seller one. That's blue John Smith. Then I have a seller/landlord. That's yellow John Smith. And you can see the blue is on all of these forms, right? And then you can see Connor Tuck, the salesperson is here. Wire fraud, you have the seller, right? This is even seller landlord here, but it's actually the blue one. Now when I come down here into this, that's again CIS. Now when I come down here, this one should be the listing agreement, right? And I come all the way to this back page, and it's just loading as I'm scrolling here. There we go. Now you can see where I have Connor Tuck, the broker/agent role, is appearing here in this kind of green. And then I have John Smith, the seller/landlord role, is all here, right? So if you guys have done this right, and if you guys filled out, see all that information, remember I put in the MLS ID, I started putting in some of this stuff when we were back in the Documents tab, all that stuff pulled right over. It's just as if you wrote it in here, right? It's all right there and done. So you shouldn't have to come in, and this is what Heather was saying, is that you don't want to have to come in and fill all this information here on this screen. Do it on that document screen. It's a lot easier than what you'd have to come in, because like you said, you'd have to put text boxes and all this stuff, but you don't have to do that, okay? So once this is all good, and let's say it's the way I wanted it, I shouldn't need any other documents in here, right? Maybe I need the licensee to sign and some different things like that. But all of my fields are basically done here. Everything's kind of where I need them to be. So I'm done, realistically. Now, Heather and Barb, before I hit send here, before I actually send this to the client and myself, is there anything on here specifically that you guys want to point out to people in terms of a tip or something that you think that they're going to use a lot that you want to go into? So is there anything like that from either of you guys?
You do have the ability to move signature boxes and date fields. Like, see that blue signature? I would move it, line it up more to the left, and maybe since you only have one seller here, maybe put the date signed above or below it or something. I don't know if you guys have ever seen documents signed through Docusign, but sometimes the date signed field can overlap a signature section. So make sure placement looks good. There was one further below that had the broker date. See how the purples is Connor would sign there, and then the date signed was over to the left. I'd bring that down to just clean it up a little bit. I'm a little anal that way, but
Not you, Barb.
Hey, Barb.
Yes, Mike.
On that subject matter, two things. Number one, that's the square box that looks like an initial. It's a signature. So if I electronically sign it or a client signs it, will it be long and a full signature?
Yes.
It'll be a full signature, yes.
Okay. Because in
Yes.
Dotloop, it has small squares for initials and long rectangular squares for signatures. So that's number one. Number two, in Dotloop, I don't put dates on anything because right next to the signature is the date and time they signed. With DocuSign, they send like 3 additional papers with all the details that DocuSign has.
Correct.
But I never really paid much notice. Do they put the dates on the document, or do you have to attach the 3 additional pages that document sends along with every signature?
I put the dates on my documents.
So you date
when
it
I
yourself.
when I get my signed document back into my room documents folder,
Right.
I also get a separate page, and I don't know if it's my configuration, but I get a separate page for all that certification pages. I get that separate. I don't attach mine together. So I don't know if it's my configuration or my settings or whatever, but I have all my signed docs here and then a whole separate document, and it's the certification of the signatures on that first document. I keep them separate.
So hey, Mike, that's why we put that little date sign box on there, because if you add that underneath of the signature field, then you get a date next to it and you don't have to worry about the certification page. Right. So as long as you use pre-tagged roles, it'll lay that all out for you, and then you won't need to use the certification page.
But Heather, if I put in that date today and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm doing my paperwork and today's date is whatever today is, the 24th, I send it to my seller, but he doesn't sign it until Sunday because I didn't know he wanted to wait for the day.
That date sign, Mike, will be the day they sign it. It's date signed, literally. When those documents are all signed is when that field, time, date, everything's going to fill in.
And Mike, you'll see that next. As soon as I open this in the actual email browser of the client, the date signed will be attributed right to when they basically opened this document. That's when it'll automatically get configured.
We're putting the blank field there that'll automatically populate the day they're signing it.
Yeah.
Okay. That wasn't clear. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. So guys, let's assume that I'm good with everything that's in here. Now you saw, I still, just like a good, as an agent, and sorry, I accidentally, I have this touchy mouse. I apologize. I need to go back into this. Sorry guys, I need to just come back into next. Just like an agent, just like you were to do, guys, if we took the computer out of this, took it out, and you were to just simply print these documents, what would you do before you sent them to a client? You'd review them to make sure that there's no missing fields. You'd review them to make sure that if there's any information that you need to fill in. Like I was just coming down here and I noticed my brokerage information, my firm, my street address, and my suite number populated, but for whatever reason, my city, state, zip code didn't come
I
in.
know why it didn't populate.
Why's that?
Because you didn't put it into the details when you did the edit details.
So again, I probably should have gone into each one, like Heather said, when I was in the documents tab, I should have gone in and looked through all my documents, made sure that they were prepped properly, right? I kind of skimmed over it and glossed over it because I wanted it for sake of time here. I wasn't going to go through each one, but in that documents tab, go through each of your documents, make sure they're properly filled out, just like you would do if there was no computer involved, right? So then this is kind of your final check to say, oops, you know what? This was missing. Maybe I want to go back and I want to fill it in there or something like that, right? So, all right, let's assume, guys, I'm done. I've set out my 4 documents. I'm good to go with everything. Now I want to show you the syntax of how this actually gets received by a client. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit send. All right, so it's sending out, and I'm already receiving notifications on my phone. Okay, and I'll show you right away what it looks like on the client side, but let me just show you the confirmation that you get here in the Docusign side of things. So in the chat, Laurie asks, can we auto sign for our client who cannot navigate a computer? No, this is guys, again, this is a very federally and internationally protected service. You cannot auto sign for your client. They need to know how to open an email, click on the documents, click through where it says in big bold letters, confirm, 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 and sign, 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 and then go through. If that's something you need to do sitting next to them, that's fine. Maybe you even do a Zoom call with them and show them and walk them through and help them. But Laurie, this is, we're kind of moving to this. I know it's tough for some clients. For those clients, maybe it still makes sense to mail to them or go with it.
It's fraudulent. In a sense, it could be a fraudulent situation.
Yeah. Joe, I believe the wire fraud notice is also a seller landlord. I think that's what you had kind of mentioned. How can I sign the form immediately without emailing it to myself? Docusign gives me 1 second window to click and I sometimes miss it. How can
You would come into here where Connor is to do that.
How can I sign the form immediately without emailing it to myself?
Go right into here in your envelope. See where it says needs my signature?
Yeah.
You click on that. And you can click on sign.
Right like that. Okay. You say.
Yep.
I think,
Okay. All right. Yeah, because Doculoop lets you do it right there while you're doing it the form. So it's
so
not
you
the
could-
same here in DocuSign.
Yeah. So you could sign it right like that. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So guys, I want to show
Thank you.
So let me get my Gmail loaded up here. So again, it's showing you in this, here's what's going out. I still need signatures from these people. It shows me who it's currently waiting on and then who position 2, 3, and 4, that's in there, right? And I'm just going to exit out of this. Okay. Guys, if you made a mistake, same thing with wanting to sign now, I can come in here and I can hit correct. If you go in and hit correct, it'll actually lock out whoever the next person that's supposed to receive this document and said this has been reclaimed by the agent. And then once you fix it or do whatever you need to do, maybe you forgot something or you forgot to, you missed a decimal point, whatever. Come in, correct it, it'll block them from signing. And then once you're good and you hit send, it'll send and say, hey, here's it back from the agent. They've made a correction, right? So that's just your way of kind of catching it midstream if you need to do something. So it's out for signature, right? I can come back and I can see, all right, this is out for signature and it's coming in, right? Now let's come over into my Gmail, okay? So you can see here, this is the email that I just got, right? And I sent all these to the same email. So you'll see the whole litany of them, right? From the agent's point of view and from the client. So DocuSign, right? Review documents. Okay, here's that. Please DocuSign. Here are the listing docs, right? Here's everything in here. Connor Tuck sent you a document to review and sign. So I'm going to review this document, right? All right, so now that we're opening it up, okay, nice meeting you today. Here's what we discussed. So all they have to do is hit continue. And all they do, guys, is follow the yellow. Hit start. It's going to bring them right down to the field that they need to sign. Sign, right? Just click on it. Now, you can draw it yourself, but it's going to bring up that classic DocuSign script, right? So if you need to edit this or something, most of the time you should be fine. If you want to draw your own, you want to select a different style, you want to upload a signature, whatever, like this is where your client can do all of that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit adopt and sign. So it's done. Remember, guys, this one is just for the listing agreement. I've sent this to that seller/landlord role first. Okay, so I'm just done here. I'm going to come up and hit finish. You saw all I did was hit start, sign, finish. Okay. So now it's saying that I'm going to complete. You're done signing. Okay. Copy this document will be sent to your email address when completed by all signers. So this is that, do I need to send a copy after everything's done to everybody back again? No, this will automatically send to them in a signed copy when it's done, right? So I'm going to hit continue. And just like in Dotloop, they might have that little box that pops up that says, oh, do you want to log into your account and all that jazz, but you shouldn't have to. Okay. So now it's just done. It just brought me to my home screen. So for this person, they can be done here. Now a second email just came in. So this was the one we just did, right? So here's the next one. Please DocuSign, okay? So again, Connor Tuck sent you a document to review and sign. Review documents. Now, since all of these roles are clumped together, it's not going to send one email per document, right? Continue. I'm going to hit start. Here's my first one. Sign. Use saved. and I'm done. Brings me right to my next one. Sign, 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 and I'm done. See how quick that was? It just brings you right down to each one. Now, obviously, they're going to want to scroll through and read and, and look through some of this stuff if you haven't already gone over it. But it's pretty quick in terms of actually receiving, clicking through, signing, and being done.
I'm noticing your signature date and timestamp is Central Daylight Time.
It is. That's something that I got to check. I got to switch off in my Docusign settings. I
Yes.
should have done that a while ago. All right.
Hey, Barb, along those lines, from a compliance standpoint, does it matter if the agent signs before their client signs, regardless of the document? I mean, in theory, in the old days, you had to witness the signature, so I had to see your signature and then witness that I saw it. But in the electronic world, does it matter?
I don't think the only document that I think matters as far as the order of signing is your lead-based paint disclosure. The seller needs to sign it first before you give it to a buyer to sign.
Well, there's no difference between the agent and their client, regardless of the document.
So to that point, though, Mike, the people signing, these two ones that signed here, these were seller. There was no agent that had signed any of this.
Right.
Again, when we were back in the envelope here and I set that order, right? Like I have the seller 1 and then the seller, they're the only people that have signed so far. So once the listing agent, once I get this doc, it will have those. So yeah, and again, I'm not going to overspeak on Barb's point to what, from a compliance standpoint, who needs to sign first, but you can absolutely make sure you set the order the way that you want it, that the sellers or the buyers are signing everything first, and then you are getting stuff at the end to make sure that you see that signature in the right field. They agreed to the specific term so that you can kind of consummate
But I think as a general practice, it probably doesn't make sense if you're doing a listing to sign all the listing paperwork and then send it to your client. I think it's probably the better way is send it to them blank. They sign it, comes back to us, we sign it. And then as soon as we sign it, the system like Dotloop will then send them back a fully executed copy.
Right.
Dotloop does not do that, just so you know.
We have to then send it back to them.
In Dotloop, we have to do that ourselves, but in DocuSign, it's done for us.
Right. Okay, I agree with you. That would be a nice upgrade from Dotloop.
Yeah.
And Mike?
Yes.
I think I've trolled through this a couple times with Barb.
Right.
Because I know Connor's got his plate pretty full, but I will say this. I think there's going to be a time soon that we're going to say, Dotloop, what? This is so much easier. This is just a learning curve. And it could be confusing, I think, because I've done these classes before, but when you do it, it starts to make sense. Mm-hmm. And like Barbara told me a million times, don't overthink it.
Joe, I couldn't agree with you more because I remember it wasn't that long ago when we started on Dotloop. I thought Dotloop was a nightmare and we got used to it.
Me too.
Now I'm used to that. I think that summed up one way. Change is a bitch. The process is a bitch, but the end result is good. And I think that's the result here. I mean, I've only been on it a few hours and I'm much more comfortable than I was. But these classes and watching Connor's YouTube videos is very helpful. And we're going to have points of frustration because there's still some bugs that need to be worked out. So no, I appreciate that, and I agree with that 100%.
So and let's keep going here because I think this is exactly on this conversation, right? So now I have the third email. Now again, these two are for the seller. You might have prepped all these, hit send. They may have not gotten to them till 4 hours later, the next day, after work, whatever, right? So, but it's good to know that as soon as my seller finished both of his roles, now me, the agent, immediately. Literally, as soon as that seller hit finish on the last document, the last signature, me, the agent, boom, immediately. I'm getting I'm ready to go.
Your seller has signed and you're just you're wrapping up your signatures.
So now I'm the agent, right? So again, I'm going to hit continue, start. It's going to take me right down here to the salesperson signature, adopt and sign, finish, and I'm done.
Mm-hmm. And you should get your final email.
Correct. And again, only because it's this listing agreement, because it's that seller landlord, that one role difference of all the docs, that's why we're kind of doing a double here. But most of the time it'll just be one to the seller, one to the agent. Sign everything, right? So again, finished here, coming back in here, coming back to my email, 1, 2, 3. Now here's the final one. Please DocuSign, right? Review. Now I'm coming in, last one. And again, pretty simple again. Continue, start,
Right, now Connor had done these documents as 1, 2, 3, and 4. He could have done the 2 separate documents for the seller as 1 and 1, and then the 2 separate documents for himself as 2 and 2.
So I've tried that, Barb. Unfortunately, I actually think because they're 2 different roles, I don't know if they can be sent at the same time. I've tried that, and it keeps putting me.
Landlord, it considers them 2 people, and you cannot make them both one. I've tried with a couple different places, couple different times,
Yep.
and
Really?
yeah.
But and go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
Go ahead, Connor. Go ahead.
So if you have a seller 1 and a seller 2, though, because it's technically the same role,
Yes.
you can send that
Yes.
to 2 different people
Okay.
at the same time. But when it's 2 different roles, it will force you to do a 1 and then a 2. That
So-
I have seen.
Here's my advice for anybody taking a listing. Do the listing document, share that one document out to your sellers for signature. While you're waiting for them to sign, prep all the remaining documents, send them, and the follow-up, you could do that in a separate envelope and send them those documents afterwards. I mean, the other thing would be, no, go ahead. I'll jump in when we
Then
get
do
there.
the seller disclosure in a separate envelope, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll show you that one too. So guys, here's the last thing. And Laurie asked a question, and I just want to touch it real quick. There's .loop. You could do like a host and in-person signing. Again, could you imagine if somebody did that fraudulently? I could just open up .loop, hit host in-person signing, and absolutely could sign on behalf of my seller. That to me is that's a red flag. Docusign doesn't even have that feature because they don't want to open themselves up to that ability to do that. So here, I'm done. I just clicked off my 2 signature fields, whatever, hit finish. Okay, so again, this is going to tell me, continue, blah, 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 you're done signing. Okay, then I'm back here in my email address, right? So now it should be, I'm just let this finish and load, really. So yes, you're done. Okay, great, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now I'm here. Now look. As soon as the last signature was done on here, now I have a completed, right? Your document has been complete. So me, the agent, is getting this all signers completed of the Please Docusign listing docs, right? I can come right in here, hit view completed documents. Okay. I can make sure, okay, yep, everything was done correctly. Good, good, good. Okay, good. And then if I need to print, do whatever, if I need to do anything extra with them, you shouldn't have to, right? So I'm just going to hit close on that. Okay. So now once I've hit close on that, it does bring me back to Docusign, but I just want to show you the other emails that just came through real quick. Okay, so it brings me back to like here, right? And I can go back to rooms or whatever, but I like to just go back into command and specifically get back into my stuff. So see the rest of this stuff? Here is, as soon as I open this one, then I got these 4. Rooms notification, signed documents in room. Electronically signed documents associated with this one, along with blah, 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 have been added to your room, right? Sign into your Docusign room to view these docs. So you could hit that to go right in. You can see this next one, this next one, this next one. They're all there letting me know that all of those documents are all signed and done, right? So you can see, I know it's a lot of emails, guys, but I want to know when my stuff is signed. I want to know when it's being sent to the next person. I want to know when it's complete, and I want to know the actions that were taken after it. So yeah, is that an aggressive amount of emails? Yes, but I want to know when this stuff is done, and I love the instant notifications for that point. Now, go ahead.
So Mike, for you, when you add your pre-tag roles in your envelope when you're getting ready to send it, for you, what I would do is put Dina as the last person to receive a copy. That way, once everybody signs, it will drop a signed copy to her so she can upload it for compliance.
Heather, love that. And here's what
That's what I do.
about, right? So if I do, and I don't really care about
It's for people with an admin or anybody that with a team or with anything, or
Yeah.
you're working with another agent or.
Heather, I'm gonna show it. I love
Yeah.
perfect.
So
point.
like if you do an amendment to change the closing date on your contract, when it's all signed by all parties, you would want to make sure the lender gets a copy and your title clerk gets a copy. So you can add them as recipients once it's fully signed.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
like
list.
another good example too, Barb.
And here's exactly how you do that. I have the envelope. Let's say whatever document is in here. I've set my main participants to that, and they're both this need to sign privilege. And then let's say I want to this, like you said, let's use, for example, a lender, right? So I'm going to add a recipient. Instead of a room participant, I'm going to send it to an email address. And I'm going to just use, Matt Boyce and Boyce at whatever, that's not his real email address. But what I can do is this: instead of making Matt a signer, I'm going to have him receive a copy, and I'm going to put him at the end.
So like your admin person should be on there if you have an admin.
Correct. I can add
Barb, on
somebody
that
else.
line, I remember watching Connor's video from Tuesday and early on the assignees. If I have Dina or anybody else as an assignee, Connor, is that accomplish that goal? What's the role of the assignee? Will they get copied on things?
So an assignee, the way that it's used in Command,
right,
is more for how you as a team are being able to look at a shared opportunity in both the agent and the team leader's pipeline.
Right.
Now, here in Docusign isn't looking at your opportunity for assignee this, assignee that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Sure.
They are separate division.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is how you would be able to send. Okay, send it to Connor Tuck, send it to John Smith, have them signed. Once it's signed, then just send copies to these people, right? And all I'm doing is add a recipient, throw their name and email address, flip them to receive a copy privilege, and boom, I can set anybody else up that I want to receive copies of the fully signed document that these guys have signed. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep, and one more. So I don't know if there's any launch agents. I didn't really look at the participants list, but say you have a buyer's agent working on your team, or you're in the launch program and you want your coach to look at your documents before they go to your client. You could add them in the beginning as a needs to view. And then, so like in this, if Pat was going to get a copy first and you can change her privilege to needs to view the document, she has to look at it before it ever gets sent to your client. That's another thing.
Well, I think I would do, that's a good point, to make sure that, the launch coach can review it. But I think I would do that, and correct me if this isn't right, but when you're in the Documents tab of Docusign, you can select the forms that they filled out when they filled them out, and then select them all and email them to Pat for her to review. I think I would do that there.
Yeah, you could. Could.
So there's multiple ways you can do things.
Heather, go ahead.
I'm good. I'm getting a call from an agent, so you're good.
So let me just reiterate what Barb and Heather were just talking about there. Like most things, guys, 2 ways to skin a cat. If a launch student would like to send this document before they send it to a client, they have 2 options. You can either do it like I have here at the envelope level, send it to Pat on a needs to view. Once she's viewed it and completed it, then it will send it out to the client. The other way that it was described is if we get out of this, I'm just going to hit save and close out of this. Remember, when I was here in my Documents tab, I can have the document here, right? I can email this document, take whatever action you need to. I think if I right click it, right, I can
click the circles. Click the circles of
so
the documents.
Yeah, I can do it this way, right? So I might email this, right? Instead of doing it at the envelope level, I might just hit, hey Pat, I just prepped these 4 documents. I just want you to real quick take a look at them, make sure that you're good, with these, and then I'll send them out to the client, right? At whatever.com, right? I can send that, and then she can kind of maybe just text me back or say, yep, good, go ahead and send, and then you can send them off doing the envelope method. Now, we've done we've again, opportunity, link to Docusign, set up our opportunity the way that we want, came into Docusign, filled out my details tab, right? I went into my documents, I grabbed my specific groups, I grabbed any extra documents I needed from the library or something like that, set the envelope, prepped the envelope, looked at the documents once they were on that final tab, made sure that they were all good to go, sent them to my parties. Seller signed, agent signed, everybody's done. I got my confirmations. Now you can see in here, completed. Everybody has finished. This is the one that I just quickly made up. And you can
show them how to delete that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
There's 5 documents in here. There's 4 roles, right? Because seller, landlord, 1 seller, broker, agent, salesperson, right? So then for this one here, I don't need this anymore. I'm just going to, again, right click on it like this. Again, just right click and just hit delete. You have permanently deleted. Yes, I'm okay with that. It was a blank draft. I don't need it, and I don't need to clutter up my envelopes and things like that. So I'm just going to get that out of there. Right click, delete, and we're back. So now,
Connor,
go ahead,
Mike. Real quick, can you look at those things? Can they be put in list format? Is that what that is in the upper right-hand corner? So rather than seeing
Yes,
These 1 by
absolutely.
2 squares. Okay.
Absolutely.
How do you prefer it? I would think looking at a list format's a lot easier than big squares. How do you like to look at it?
Mike, one of my biggest pet peeves in life is when I sit down with an agent and we're looking at the files inside of their documents or downloads folder and they're all in icons. I love a good list view. So
I like
for
list
me,
view.
Me
for
too.
me, I prefer a list
List view.
view. It's linear, it's line itemed.
Absolutely.
I like it that way. So I
All
agree
right,
with you. on
thanks.
that.
And that's right there in the right-hand corner. Perfect.
Correct. So now, guys, I'm going to come back to my documents room. Remember, I got these 4 emails: rooms notification, room. What did they say? Have been added to your room. The signed documents. So check this out. When I'm back here in documents now, you're going to see I have I have more. But what do I have? I have completed ones, and I have the blank forms. If I click on this and I look at this, this is going to be the signed version of that document, right? Just let it load for 2 seconds. This is the signed version. This is the one I want, right? This is the one that's going to have to go in my compliance folder, right? Now, I don't need this one. So what I like to do from a clutter standpoint, and let's go to our list view, you can see this and this are the same thing, just this is the one I actually care about, and this is a blank form. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to take all point. Yeah, go ahead.
Leave one of them on there that's signed and unsigned. I just in case that they forget how to do that, I just want to show them what it looks like in command.
Got it. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. So, all right. Again, signed, sale, lease. I'm going to get rid of this one. Dual agency signed versus the blank one there. And then Heather, I'll leave in the wire fraud, signed and unsigned. Cool. And I'll take the consumer information statement out. Okay. So you see these blank forms that I don't really need, and they're just cluttering up space. Again, once I hit select on here, my little action bar comes up, and I would like to archive these, just like we archive stuff in Dotloop, right? I'm going to hit archive, and there you go. Now it's a little cleaner, right? Now I'm only really looking at my signed versions of things. Okay.
Hey, Connor.
Yes.
I think it's important on that last screen when you archived it that everybody doesn't have to worry about freaking out, because it says you can unarchive that document at any time. So if you archive something by mistake, you can retrieve it.
Right. And just to that point, Joe, right here is this little drop-down menu: actives, all, and archived. So these are those 4 that I just put in the archive. Maybe I accidentally put one of the signed ones in here. No sweat. Just grab it like this, come here to unarchive, and it'll bring it right back to that active documents. Right? Here's my ones here. So go ahead.
Point out the first document to Mike. It's the certification of the listing documents. See how all those, the certification pages all came separate?
Okay. So
Okay.
here's all the signer events, right? Here's all the signatures. Here's the timestamps for everything. This is a good document to have, guys. I have seen, I think we've all co-opted with an agent that have like put this at the back of everything or put it at the front of everything or something.
Sure.
Like Heather said, if you do that date signed right at this with all of them right there next to each other, I think the need for this is less important. But good. Again, nice to have. I don't think it's critically important, again, if you have that date signed. So,
Hey, Barb, do you want to see that certification now brought over to command?
No,
Nope.
It can stay in the envelope as it is.
correct.
It shouldn't come over as a miscellaneous document.
Don't make my job harder, Mike.
Mike, I think to your point, you can bring it over if you want to, but all this is trying to do is show a timestamp of the signatures. So there's redundancy here in that I'm already showing the timestamp on the actual document itself right there next to the signature. I then don't need this full timestamp page. If I never put any of those date sign things on there, yeah, I absolutely would want this, because I would want to know time and date and everything that was there. But there's just this little bit of redundancy. So as long as you have that date signed, this becomes just a document that you can keep for total backup purposes, but I don't think it's necessary. We're done the signature part, right? Guys, I know we went almost an hour here doing this, but remember, we really slowed down and explained everything. Once you get good at this, details, documents, get the ones you want, grab them from the group, throw them in the envelope, do your pre-tag rolls, go in, make little changes, send, receive, get them all in, and then they're already here, done, signed, and everything. Like that should actually be a very quick process. Now let me come here from command. Yeah, go ahead.
One little tip that Barb gave me.
Yeah.
Is once you have everything completely fully executed, and you have all your signed documents, you got rid of all the clutter that was in that folder.
Yep.
You can open up another folder and you could name it listing docs signed. You could move all those into that folder, and then this folder will remain empty for any future documents you're putting in there all the time. It'd be easier for it to find new documents.
So let's try that. So here's all my listing docs, right? Like signed listing docs. I'm going to select all.
No. Oh, no. First, you want to make a new folder. Go to Actions next to the Add button.
Oh, you want to do it this way. Okay.
I add a folder, and I name it Listing Documents, and then I select them all and move them.
So the only reason why I thought you could do it this way is if I hit a move.
Yeah. You have to have that folder created to move
function. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was thinking of it in a different way, but I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is this. Okay, I got all my listing docs. They're done, right? I don't want to have to scroll through 30 documents all the time. I want to break them into folders. Actions, add folder, listing docs, something like that. Create. Now I have this listing docs folder here. I'm going to select all my documents. And then now can I move them in here? Is that how you guys were doing them?
Mm-hmm. That's how we were doing them.
Okay. So now I'm going to move these, select my destination, folder in current room. And it'll say, here are all the different folders you have. Obviously, I only have room docs and listing docs. So I'm going to select listing docs complete, move. And there we go. Now
what's the main reason of creating another envelope, just so you don't have 30 documents?
Not an envelope.
Not an envelope.
It's a folder.
These are folders.
So now, Mike, you can see in here.
So then when you have to prepare your contracts, you don't want all the listing documents in this room docs folder cluttering what you're trying to finish for contract docs.
I see.
It just organizes it, Mike, like we had in .loop.
Yeah. No, I see that. I understand.
You don't need to store your documents here. It's just you don't want to accidentally send one of your listing documents as part of a contract set of documents by mistake. So it's just cleanliness.
It's just organization, I think.
So now all my listing documents are here right in this one. If I were to have any closing documents and things like that I needed, I can put them in there. Any under contracts I can put in here. Again, yeah, right. Just like Barb said, this is purely just for you staying organized in the documents section. But like they said, this isn't where compliance is being checked, and that's our next part. I'm going to come back to command here in the documents tab of this opportunity, right? So now I want to.
Sorry, I just had a question. Wouldn't you just delete those, or do you want us to continue to save them in both places now? Like, why would you need to file and save the listing docs if the whole goal is to put them into command?
You don't need to. It's only if you want to, Lindsay.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Just a preference.
Yeah. I've never personally done it this way with folders, but I could see how one certain deal that happens to have 80 documents. What do I want to look at 80 line items, or do I want to look at 8 groups of 10? That would be the only thing for here to look at. But you're right. It's just for organization. If you don't think you need it, don't do it. It's not mandatory, nothing.
No, it's just to help a visual when you go to do the next set of documents you need to prepare.
So now let's do that, right? Now I'm in documents. Now here is where I need to submit my docs to Barb for compliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in here.
Use my favorite button, Connor.
I know. And I was going to say you could one by one add them just by going to the right file and hitting the add file. But a time saver is this button right here. Attach multiple files. I'm going to hit attach. Then you see, I can either bring things in manually, I can look into my Docusign transaction room, or I can look into the custom folders. I'm going to look into the Docusign transaction room, which is this. I'm going to look at these 10 documents because this is my transaction room. Here's command. I want to look inside of the Docusign room. Does that make sense? So my residential listing agreement, which is a required document, select. And then you can see affiliated residential listing agreement, right? These are those 10 docs, right, that are in the other room. I guess we can say it that way. So here, so residential listing agreement, New Jersey residential listing agreement, sale, lease, right? So I'm going to select, those were basically the form ones, right? I want to make sure that I'm coming down here.
Did you see where it said listing documents folder?
Yeah, so root folder. Then you have the listing docs complete folder, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
That's
want.
where you want to get it from.
I want to be inside my listing docs complete. Okay, here's my signed listing agreement. Just click on it. CIS. Come down to the listing docs folder. I'm going to come down. Here's my CIS signed.
Now, if you know what the document is called, you can just start typing. You don't have to scroll through that whole list. You don't have to, you just start typing and
Like you
it'll
can
find the
type
form
wire
for
fraud.
you.
So just like this, Heather, I just start typing in like affiliated and then boom, it only brings
Make
up
sure
the
you
two.
pick the one that says signed. That's
Right?
all.
So you see how it says sellers.pdf and this is sellers-sign.pdf. It's showing you here is that root form and then here's the actual signed version of it. Signed. And then, so we didn't do any of the rest of these, right? So boom, there we go. I have now my 4 docs just grabbed, thrown right into the right spots. Come down here, just hit attach, and then you can see all 4 of them get loaded in nicely right here. And you can see, guys, as soon as I get at least one document loaded in, now this submit to Market Center button has become active for me, right? I can now, since I have my required documents, I can
Don't
submit
click
this.
it. Don't click it. You can, but since it's don't click it.
Because it always gives them a little notification. So, all right, so that's what you want to make sure you do. Get these ones in like that. And then when you are ready, guys, don't do this. Don't put one in, hit submit, another one in, hit submit, another one in, hit submit. Get all your docs in there for this entire section, then hit submit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hey,
And
Connor.
Barb, in the interest of being clean and neat, you can't remove the ones that you don't need here. Like if you don't need, Connor, scroll down, but if you don't need one of those documents, you don't have the ability to clean that out of there. So we can be neat and clean in the envelopes with separate folders in our envelopes, but this lists all these documents and they sit there forever.
So yes, I agree with you that no, I can't come in and I can't say, okay, well, you know what? This is a new construction home. I don't need this space. I want to absolutely get rid of this entire line item. You're correct. That will stay
For
there.
that note, I totally agree with you because I know that you know what you need and what you don't need. But if a new agent comes in here and says, "Oh, I don't have that," delete.
I agree.
It's if everybody could have their own custom list, it would make sense. Like we could say for 10 years plus, you get a different compliance list than somebody else does.
Yeah, right. This side is just to keep us compliant, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now we're in here again, guys. What I would do is you see how this says open here? That means nothing's been done. No action's been taken quite yet. I've just put docs in. Once I hit submit, it will say submitted, right? It's submitted that it says, Heather?
Yes.
Submitted. Then once they review it, let's say everything's good. They'll approve all 4 of my documents. I will get a nice green check mark right here. And then I know my listing section is done. However, remember how I didn't have the finished date on that one form? I forget which one it was specifically. They'll say, you know what, Connor, your listing agreement, CIS, and dual were good. However, on the affiliated, you missed the city, state, and zip code for the office. So there'll be a green mark here, a green mark here, a green mark here, and then it'll have a little red X button here with a note that you can kind of hover over, and it'll be from them saying, hey, missed date, address on this line. Is that how you guys want it?
Connor?
Yeah.
Refresh your page.
Go on, Heather.
Oh, no.
So did you basically submit it on my behalf?
Yeah.
Okay. So assuming I submitted it, right? I submitted it. She's going to say, you know what? Listing agent, CIS, and dual, you're good to go. However, this one was rejected. And again, all I have to do is hover over this note and they'll let you know what was wrong with it. Please fill in complete address. And then I can look at it from here. I can actually look at it and I can say, oh, where did I miss that? Where did I miss it? And assuming, you know, I missed the address here or something, right? Oh, I see where I missed the address. Got it. So I just exit back out of this. And then what I would do is, right? And let me just exit out of these two so I kind of do this fresh for you guys. And sorry, my thing's just in the way.
I have a question while you're doing that.
Yeah.
now that you're going in to change that, add something like in dot loop, once you changed anything, it wiped it out and you had to get it re-signed.
Okay, so let's see that, right? Let's see what that looks like here. Oops.
Now remember, we're in Command.
Okay.
We're not in DocuSign.
Correct. So I need to go to Docusign to fix this, right? Because Command's just a storage locker. It doesn't have e-signature capabilities. But if I go to transaction, that's going to open back up this Docusign room. So let's go in here. It's just loading up for a second. Give it 2 seconds. So it was the affiliated, right? This signed affiliated was the one that I had done incorrectly, right? So I'm going to select this document. Okay. I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to hit maybe DocuSign, or can I, let's see if I can just click on it here. Again, I'm kind of doing what you might do is, oh, let me see if I can click on this. Oh, you know what? I can't just click in or do anything here. There's no text box for me.
It's already been signed.
Right, right. So if I have to, okay, let me close this out. Let me click on this.
You want to go to your archived one.
Okay, but I'm just trying to, because I think I'm going to eventually get there. Let me just say, okay, well, let me take this signed version. Let me just go to DocuSign, right? Okay, I got these. So there's really no recipients I need to add to it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Barb, to your point, I would get to this point and be like, you know what, let me just start from scratch with the other document again, since I have to change something. So I'll just get out of here, save and close. I'm just going to right click on this draft, delete that. Right. Yes, I want to delete that draft. I don't want to do it that way. All right. So
hey, Barb, in that scenario where it's missing an address or something that I don't need the seller to sign again, could I just print that document, handwrite the state zip and address, and then scan it and add it up as a document? It's got the address on it, Phil's got the signatures, but I don't go through the embarrassing stage of calling up my seller and say, yo, dude, I had you sign a form, but I screwed it up. I need you to re-sign it.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't recommend doing how you said to do it, but if you did it that way, you need to make sure you send your seller or whoever a copy that you had to make a change, and then you'd want to get them to initial it. I mean, think about it. It's just, this is why fill in the blanks in the room in DocuSign, proofread it there, put it in an envelope, your second chance to proofread everything and make any changes. If you take the quality time to proofread everything, you're not going to have that problem.
All right. Well, now that she gave you the right answer, I'm going to give you the mischievous answer. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this on a recorded video. What I could potentially do in that case, Mike, if I know that it was just an address or something, and again, defer to Barb on all things legal, I'm gonna take a look at this document. I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna download it. Okay, I'm gonna download it as a document. Then I'm gonna come right back into add from my computer.
I'm not seeing this, am I?
You're not condoning this. Then I'm going to add it right back in. The document has been added back into my room.
And it should be a PDF?
Yeah, it should be a PDF. Did it come in yet? Here.
Go down, it's in Room Docs.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm in the wrong one. Yeah, Room Docs here. Okay, so here it is, right? Select. Now I'm going to go to DocuSign.
And if you do it this way, I would be okay, say, just send it to your client and say, can you put an initial box next to the change you make, and just do it that way.
Hey, Barb, can you put an initial box? I mean,
Yes.
I like one thing, you can do an initial box. Can you do a text box?
Yes,
In DocuSign, you can do
Yes.
text boxes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
when you're in an envelope, not when you're in the room in the Documents tab, when you're in the Envelopes tab.
Right. So to your point, Mike, right here. So I've just grabbed the doc back. It's the signed version of it, right?
Right.
But
Sure.
let's say for whatever reason, let's assume that this date was the
Sure.
address or something, right? So I would just come in here. So I have John Smith is the only person on here.
Right.
I'm just going to come in, take the text box,
Okay.
put it in here, you know, and I'll put the date, but let's just assume this was, like you said, an address for 26, right? Something like that. And then I could just, you know, shorten this up a little bit. So Barb, even if I'm adding something like this in, you would want me to go and then add this initials field like right here onto it.
Sure.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep.
And then boom, right? So from here, I can just send to the client with the notes of this envelope. Hey, I just happened to miss out on a little address or a date or whatever. Just go ahead and just see that field and just go ahead and initial it and whatever. So I could just send it to them real quick. Send again. While that's sending out, I'm just going to load this up, get in a Gmail.
Hey, Barb, I hope you don't look at all those .loop documents for dates, because I've kind of don't put dates everywhere because they're all being signed and dated by .loop. So the day I prepared is insignificant. All that matters is the date it was signed by the client. So on that particular document, I don't, many times I don't put a date up there. So I guess I'm going to be getting a lot of returned non-compliant docs again.
Well, like on this particular document, if you didn't put a date at the top, but there's a date next to the signature, I'm not gonna care that there's no date at the top.
Right.
I mean, that's also, you have to just take a look at what the document actually is. Is it
I
an
agree.
NJAR
Absolutely.
document or is it a Market Center document?
I agree. All right. Hey, Connor, I'm going to be signing off in about 3 minutes. I don't want to be rude. Great job. But I've got it 2 o'clock. So when I bounce out of here and you're still going, I just didn't want you to think I'd cut out on you.
I appreciate it, Mike. And here's that signed version now that I have right here in my documents, right? All I did was add that. It has the second signature right on. It has that initials field right on here now. That's been signed and received by the seller with the date change or whatever. And boom, there you go with the date change with the little initials right next to it, sort of thing. So yeah, that would be kind of how I could see you maybe doing that real quick, just to get a quick one sent back out. You don't have to have them re-sign the whole thing. You just have to maybe have them initial whatever you're going to change post.
Don't risk your license by making a change to a document that your client should receive a copy and initial.
No matter how mundane the change is, make sure they initial. So, all right, so then that's it. So then I would come back in here. I would say, okay, this is the one that I failed on, right? So I'm going to come down here into this one. I'm going to hit replace. Do you, Barb and Heather, do you guys want me to have this? Why are you re-uploading? Do you want me to put something in here?
Nope.
Cool. You're just going to know based on the note that you sent. So I'm going to, again, look into my Docusign room. And it's going to search.
Some people do put notes, but you don't have to.
Okay. So then in here, you can see I have the root folder. And again, that sellers signed one, I think that's the one that's in my room docs. Mm-hmm. It should be this one, the affiliated, there's sellers, and then there's the sellers signed one signed. So this is that final iteration one. This was the seller signed and then signed again after that second signature. So I'm just going to hit replace. So now it's been replaced. Now, Heather, can I hit resubmit for you?
Yes, you can.
So I'm going to resubmit this. Are you sure you want to submit this for review? Yes. So now I've resubmitted it for this specific document. Then Heather gets a notification to take a look back at it. She's going to say, okay, you fixed the issue that was in there. You're good to go on this specific document. She's going to then approve it. And then Heather, just let me know when you want me to do the refresh again.
So this is a really good example. So refresh, right? So now you're going to see that all 4 of those documents are approved, but the listing section itself is returned. People get caught up on this all the time. They're like, well, it says returned, but all my documents are approved. Like, why is it wrong? I sent you a note that says, please upload the property disclosure. It's returned because you're missing something still.
Okay, that's a good one.
Connor, I don't know what your next topic is, if there is one, but I know Mike has to sign off, but maybe you could do the seller's property condition disclosure, since Heather pointed that out that it's required for this one.
So that was going to be my last thing that I touch on today, guys. I know we've run a little bit longer. This whole thing is recorded. We've done a ton, but this video should now become like your Bible for when you're going to do your next deal. And you need to just say, bring it up right next to me. I want to walk along the steps, see where everything is, right? To that effect.
So if somebody wanted to go back and look at this video, they could save this video to their computer, right?
Well, Joe, it's going to be on YouTube, right? So you don't have to save it anywhere. You could just as long as you know how to get to my YouTube channel, just go on there. It'll be perfectly labeled and you can watch it all the time. If you want to save that as a favorite link or something, or whatever you want to do. Yeah, absolutely.
How do we get there to that YouTube channel?
I'm going to have to best off too, but are you going to be doing one on contracts?
Say that again. On what?
I said, I'm going to have to sign off too, but are you going to be doing a class on contracts?
Contracts?
Yeah, through Docusign?
I don't think that's a bad idea, Joe. Maybe we'll get that added for next week about how to do this with a co-op or something like that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, guys, last
Hey, guys,
thing.
have a nice weekend.
Have a good one, Joe.
Bye, you too.
So guys, the last document that is important in a listing document is the seller's property condition disclosure. Now, let's talk about a pain point and let's talk about how we solved it. The pain point was this. Who has had a seller that has like totally skipped entire sections of a seller's disclosure when they fill it out by hand? As an agent, when I go on and I see improperly filled out seller's disclosure, I'm just like, you're sitting there opening yourself up to all sorts of different issues. If you're not filling this out, if you're going to fill it out, fill it out. But if you're going to fill it out blankly or improperly and then sign it, I just think it's malpractice. So what I'm going to do now is I want to send the seller's property condition disclosure. Pause. Please don't send the seller's property condition disclosure with all of your other listing documents. Here's why. Those other listing documents you saw took me a very quick amount of time to get done. The seller's property condition disclosure, being a 13-page document with several line items on every single page, takes a long time. I, as an agent, do not want to hold up my listing documents to get this thing ratified in the MLS, make it official by a very long-winded seller's disclosure that might take, like to Laurie's point, the non-tech savvy consumer, it might take them 3 days to complete this sucker. So send these documents first, then send them the seller's property condition disclosure after, so that you can get the listing in and then give them a couple days to do this condition disclosure. So to that effect, let's do I'm just going to exit out of my two little tabs here again, just so I can kind of show you how they open from scratch. So again, go to transaction. Now, we all know that for the large majority of all of our stuff, we're just going to go into our documents tab. We're going to go hit that nice little add button. We're going to go to the Docusign Forms. We're going to select the group and everything's going to load in. The seller's property condition disclosure is the one single solitary document that you are not going to get that way. And it's because we had to make it personally as a template instead of going through the traditional route of having Docusign, KWRI, the board, whatever, ratify all of our other documents. So I'm going to come in here to hit add. I'm going to, instead of going into doing any of these, I'm just going to go right to my envelope. I'm not even going to go in there. Go to my envelope. I'm going to start a new envelope. Remember when I said if I forgot one from my room, I can just add it in here? Or if I need to bring in maybe a proposal to purchase custom template that I've created for myself, I can do it here. Well, MJ's account, kind of the master account, has an ability to share templates with you. These are all examples of some, when I was doing test stuff and whatever, and then I now have my proposal to purchase in here. This is where I grab those from under my templates. But if we all agents of our market center, you're shared with me, we all look exactly the same. And in this shared with me, there's now several forms that have been uploaded here. And who did this recently? Heather, Barb, who did this recently? This is new with all these in here.
So it's funny because it's actually every single market center's options.
See the market center name in the middle?
Advantage, yeah, Advantage.
So you should be able to hit, I wonder if you can do selected and just do Morristown, but.
Yeah, so if I go like, that doesn't work. But I see it right down here, guys. You see this seller's property disclosure, the Morristown service account. It's the only document in here for Morristown. This other stuff really shouldn't be in here. I'm sure they'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But here's your seller's property disclosure. So I'm just going to select this and add the selected. Same rules apply though in the envelope. Now I need to set my room participants. So add recipients. So again, pre-tagged roles. I have my seller 1, John Smith, add selected. Okay, if I had a second seller that needed to do this too, add recipients, pre-tagged roles, seller 2, let's just say that it's me, whatever, add selected. Okay, I would do it this way, guys, for the property condition disclosure. I would want it sent out to both sellers simultaneously. Here's why. I don't know if the husband or the wife or the boyfriend or the girlfriend or whoever is more adept or knowledgeable about filling this out. So I just want to send it to both of them simultaneously, and then whoever feels more proper to fill it out entirely, they can fill it out, but then they can both kind of sign it when it's all done. So again, I'm going to label this envelope seller's disclosure. Okay, I didn't spell that right, but whatever. Next. So guys, here is why this document is going to take a very long time for your seller to fill out. Sorry, I'm just getting some of these notifications from the Docusign stuff coming in. So once I'm in here, you can see I have 2 roles as the 2 sellers. Okay. Look at all of the text fields. Look at all the radio buttons. You can see some are solid yellow, some are striped yellow. And what that basically means is that when something is in here, and let's just take, for example, are you aware of any condition that exists on the property in the vicinity which adversely affects or has been identified as possibly adversely affecting the quality, safety of the air, so blah, 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 blah. If yes, explain. If I click on yes, this field will pop up and you will have to write something here. If they write no, this field will not pop up and they will not have to put anything in here. How many times have you seen a seller say, yeah, we're aware of issues, and then they don't actually explain anything that's in there, and it just begets more questions. So with this entire document, we've really gone through and made sure that everything makes sense. I've had people do this. I've only had Jeff Bales bring up one issue, and I'm not sure why it is. Heather, I might jump on with you for 5 minutes today and figure that out. But everything else in here is pretty much working no problem. So when I send this to a client, right, and again, let me just get up and we're going to basically break here. When we get up here, then when I finally receive this email, let me just let this finish sending, and there we go, has been sent to me by a Docusign to fill out. Okay. Now when I come here, I've been added to a room. That was the completed document. I think it's still waiting to send out here. There we go. Now it's finished sending. Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, good. Now it's been sent out. Okay. So now if I just come in here, refresh this real quick. Okay, there we go. So please Docusign, right? It's sending to both those sellers at once. Right now, this person's going to come in here, review the document. They are going to obviously start getting here. We're just kind of slowing down a bit computer-wise. So they're going to hit continue, and then they're going to go start. Okay, required. Age of home. If known, this is a required field. If I hit unknown, that field goes away, right? So obviously if they know the home, they have to put it in. And that's the same for all of this, right? As you start to put stuff in, it will either require or not require some of that stuff for you to put in there, right? I think we were down here on this one, hit no, so that doesn't pop up. If I hit yes, it does pop up. So that's why the seller's disclosure, we like it this way. A, it's going to solve the problem of actually making sellers fill out because they will not be able to hit finish until all the required fields have been successfully completed. Then same thing, guys, once you're done it, you'll get that notification. It'll be here. It'll show up as a signed document here in your documents room. Then I can come all the way back into command, add the single off file, look into my Docusign room, just select the right file, throw it in here, and then I can hit resubmit back to here. So that's it. Let me just take a quick peek here into the chat. Got some people. So guys, just make sure when you're sending something, you can do it on, you can do it to everyone. I see a lot of you are sending private messages that are good questions for the group. Does Docusign have a resend feature? Asks Yvonne. Yes, Docusign does have a resend feature. That would be like if you're in the envelope or something like that. You could correct it, do whatever you need to, and then resend it out to the client. Like I had mentioned before, it will like stop it. It'll actually send an email to this person and say, hey, the agent has like taken this document back. You've been locked out. The agent can make whatever changes to the document that they need to make, and then they can resend the envelope, and then it'll say, hey, here's the new version that your agent has done. Brittany, thanks so much. I appreciate it. How do we review this Zoom on YouTube? Yes, it will be on YouTube. I'll be putting it up just later today. And then Connor, this was good. Okay, awesome. So guys, I'm going to stop here. All right. I'm going to just stop my share for a second. You guys have braved it out for quite a while in this class. I appreciate all of you who stuck in. I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer here. If you guys have any specific questions, remember, this video will be available just a little bit later today. Bookmark it, save it, do whatever you need to. This is your Bible now for going through. You are all going to have this happen. There's going to be a small hiccup in your deal that's not the conventional way. You're going to have some little asterisks where, well, wait a minute, I actually had this, but this person's not, now I need to make this correction. I'm so happy to handle those questions, guys. When you start having stuff outside of the normal, just cookie cutter process, reach out to me, reach out to Heather, reach out to Barb. Whoever of the three of us is available will absolutely help you with those end cases. But for everybody else, to make sure that we have that time to do all the end case stuff with everybody else, for everybody else, when you have your cookie cutter stuff that's right down the middle like this, we are probably going to try and redirect you back to a video like this. One of the previous ones I've done, a Marty Viller video, something like that. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate you hopping on. Again, I'll hang out here for a couple extra minutes if anybody has any kind of specific questions. And we went for a nice solid hour and a half. I feel like I need to stretch my jaw a little bit. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Hey, Connor, how do we find that on YouTube?
So are you subscribed to my channel, John? Unmute yourself again. Sorry, we couldn't hear you.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so let me here's how I would do it if I was you, right? So I go in here and let me go incognito for a second. Oh, sorry, let me just stop this share. Let me just do this. Get an incognito browser going up here. Share screen. First off, every video that I've ever posted on the Keller Williams Morristown Agents Facebook group was done from my channel. You can click on any of those videos, and on the video, you just simply click on my name on YouTube, and it'll bring you to my channel, which has every single video I've done. But if you're just on here and you're just going to go type in youtube.com. Amy Ryan made a good point. Apparently, there's quite a few Connor Tucks on here. I didn't know that there was.
I bet you there's only one Connie Tuck.
Always. Yeah, guys, so you might see some of these other Connor Tucks, these other, I don't even know what some of these things are down here. But this is mine, which has obviously like my name and everything like that. So you could just hit the subscribe button and then you'll get notifications when I put a new video up. But you can just simply click on my name here. And then again, it's going to bring you to something like this. If you go to videos, right, here's all my trainings that I've done.
Awesome. Thank you.
So this is your nice little library of literally everything we've touched on, and I tried to be fancy like Marty Miller and start having a stock thumbnail for all of them. So I look a little more professional this way. But that would be how I would come and find it. The other, and then John, just the really other easy method is if you are going to do it not through there, if you want to just do it, like let's just open this up. I would just, let me just slide back to the screen that we're actually looking at. So I would just come in here in Facebook. I think this is probably the easier method. I would just come to the Keller Williams agent page.
Okay.
And then I like to just do it this way where I'll just search this group. See on the left end, everything's just slow today. Probably because we have 20 people on a Zoom call. So I would just come to this search this group function. Connor Tuck. It's just taking a while to load. Oh, come on. Then hit enter on Connor Tuck. I don't want to go to group quality. I'm just trying to click on
Connor, maybe if you could put this particular video under the videos tab there on the left of Facebook. Under events, there's videos.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
So they could I don't want to clutter it, but I mean, just this was a really, really good one, I think, for agents.
My only argument is that I would like one place for everybody to go for their video.
True.
I want some videos to be here, some videos to be there. So that's why I'd rather you know this method. So I would just come in here, Connor Tuck, all posts, and then I go by most recent or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can see here's all the things that I've posted. So here's like an example, right? Like for this one right here, if I just come in here and I click on this, right, here's the post. If I just click on this video, it brings me to YouTube. Obviously, it's going to open up the actual video itself, and it's going to start playing. Okay. Do you see right underneath of it? Just click on that, and it's going to bring you right back to this page.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool. Awesome. All right. What else are you guys working on? Anything?
I'm hanging envelopes in the vestibule.
All right. Got checks?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Great. Well, good guys. I appreciate it. Again, I'll get this once this is finished processing. It's not quite instant and things like that. A little bit. Once this is all done, I will get it absolutely loaded up onto YouTube, and then I will put it again right back in the Facebook group. Save it, bookmark it, do whatever you got to do, sort of thing. And that's it. So, without much further ado, thank you guys all very much for hanging in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connor.
Friday. I'll see you all in an hour and a half for happy hour.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.